Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mohan, and I'm here to talk to you about how I use AI. And um, first of all, I find it a place to. I have a lot of ideas, and sometimes I find it hard to decipher whether I've got a good idea or a bad idea. Rather than boring friends and family, I quite like talking to AI about it to kind of see if it's a good idea or not. Uh, another thing I'm using it for at the moment is workflows to figure out how I can get these ideas into real products or prototypes or designs or whatever it may be. Um, I'm just going to briefly touch a bit today on AI agents, seeing as it was in the title that Amit already previously um, talked about. But I've got a few AI agents as well that I'm going to build, but I got sidetracked with the workflows thing. So um, I think the first part of the AI agents is the use of LLMs. And that is basically just enable natural language so you can talk to AI. And I think the main thing about LLMs is they're not actually that useful. They can predict the next word. You can ask it to write a poem or predict or something about history if it's learnt about it. But I think where AI agents bring things together is when you start stacking up tools. So maybe a tool to scrape a website for data, or maybe a tool to put that data in a Google sheet, um, and maybe connect it to a voice recognition API, and then you've got something really powerful. And I think that's where we're going with AI being a really powerful thing for the future. And I think it is worth the hype that it's going to live up to. Um, so with all this new technology and a little bit of design skills under my belt, I'm thinking to myself, what should I build? And when I ask this question to myself, one of the main questions I ask is, what is the problem that I want to solve? Like, how can I use this technology to solve a problem that I have, um, rather than just kind of making something for the sake of it, or thinking about someone else's problem where I'd have to really go deep into researching how someone else is thinking. I think I've got enough problems uh, as it is, so I may as well use it to solve one of them. One of my problems is social media. It's like I would love to. I'm very disappointed with myself when it comes to social media. I think I could give a lot more. And like you all know, the main thing about social media is consistency and and being interesting all the time. And and I I, I might go through a phase of like one or two interesting things and I get positive feedbacks, but keeping up with the level of consistency, it's just something I can't do by myself. But if I built an agent, I could just have that running in the background and get it to plan weeks, months, maybe even a year in advance of like really interesting topics to keep my social media going. Another area which I see a potential problem that I have is video content. I come from editing and graphics background, and I have a lot of ideas of making uh, little video edits. Um, One of my ideas is kind of representing little snippets of the news, but in short, kind of like infographic kind of styles. And I've done a few of these, and they're very time consuming. And by the time I report on one section of the news, and it takes me all day to edit it, that's old news and there's now new news that's come out and I've already missed it and I'm still editing the old thing and I'm like I've I've kind of fallen behind. So I really think if I make an agent, that's something else that could just run in the background. And uh, it's also connected to the web page, my idea for a web page of also having blogs about the news. I'm very much into the news, like finance, politics, and just tech news, especially with AI, is a very interesting area to me. And I want to make a blog page that also that also takes trending news topics, and that again, that's a very hard thing to do manually by yourself. It's kind of thing where it's kind of situation where an agent could come in and you could get it to um, monitor RSS feeds of stuff that you're interested in, and you can take that data, put it into a database. New entry in the database means automatically a new web page is built. So um, they're kind of my ideas that I haven't made yet. But while thinking about this, I would take a step back and I look at the double diamond, which is um, it's kind of old school. I did the Experience House UI UX course at the end of last year, and is very much in the double diamond as a process. It's tried and tested. It's kind of done the test of time, and it is a workflow at the end. You don't have to use the whole thing. You can take bits here and bits there. Um, but the one thing that kind of going into this new age of technology, one of the interesting areas I find with this double diamond is that we stop at deliver. And who are we delivering to? We're now delivering to a developer, maybe, or there's no build section on this workflow. So that's kind of what I don't see it as a problem, because I know it's come from a great history of design. But I think as we go into the future, uh, a build section might be might might be a need for, especially after seeing like Partha's talk. We're kind of like merging the kind of designer and the developer could be starting to merge. So also before the Experience House course, I, I've got a great interest in coding, and I always have done. But I only started looking at Python and Next.js last year, and where maybe like 10 years ago I would look at PHP and kind of get stuck and give it up. When I started getting into Python and Next.js, I was using ChatGPT to really help me push through these kind of um, debugging problems that would set you back weeks or maybe even months. I remember I was making a project and I just got stuck for 2 weeks on the same problem in PHP. And now when I'm coding stuff and using ChatGPT and Perplexity to help me, I can debug in 2 minutes, and I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. I've been waiting for this for a long time. So after the course, I made a portfolio website, and I made this in Next.js. And at the time, I was really pleased with it. Obviously, now I can see areas that can be improved, but it had a light mode and a dark mode, which I was most pleased about. As you can see, very chuffed in the picture with that. Um, but when I was researching into um, portfolio websites for designers, I noticed a very interesting trend of designers marketing themselves as Webflow developers and also Framer developers, and this kind of made me take a step back, like a double take at it, especially with my interest in coding and actually building a project out in full and having it live, which is something I'm very much into. I kind of stepped back from those other agent projects and kind of started looking into Webflow and Framer. So they're both like no code, well, or low code applications you can make websites in, and a lot of designers are starting to use these tools now to get their designs live, and this could speed up the development process for making simple websites, definitely. And so I started learning the basic. Actually, when researching them, YouTube was a big part of my research for them. So, and there's a lot of clickbait type of stuff. I did see people kind of jumping from Webflow to Framer, but I wasn't entirely sure if this is a trend or why they're doing this or anything. So I really wanted to look a bit deeper into these programs myself. So I jumped straight into these programs and I started learning the basics. In Webflow, I made a pharmacy website. In Framer, I just did a task management landing page. They were very unorganized, just quickly getting in using YouTube um, and basically Google and ChatGPT to help me learn the program basically. And I did find Framer a bit quicker, but I also like Webflow and the way it kind of bases itself from HTML and CSS and knowing a little bit about web development. I find that quite a powerful thing. So I continue my research into the both programs, and I find myself on the template marketplace, and I'm busy researching niches and styles and opening templates, having a see how they work, and then actually getting the free ones, opening them up in the program, and seeing how people are actually structuring their their actual websites. And yeah, I spent quite a lot of time getting into this. The marketplace places are quite big, and it kind of dawned on me that there's a few things that can happen here. There's a big there's a big earning potential where you could make your own template, you could put it on the marketplace, and hopefully, if someone buys it, you're making money. And the other one is you're actually uh, creating an extra skill for yourself that you can sell to people as a Webflow developer or a Framer developer, as well as being a designer. And I thought that was quite a big asset. I think anything where you can create more revenue for yourself has got to be worth looking into more. And also the learning potential here, actually making a template, abiding by guidelines from that you need to upload onto these platforms would actually force you to learn the program and to make it properly. I think in my first ones, it became very evident to me that you can definitely make it not properly. It like layers badly named. Just when you're in a rush and you're just quickly trying to learn something, you're not really thinking about the layout. What would happen if I would actually have to give this to a client and they look at how I've labeled, like actually done this. So yeah, I think wanting to learn how to do it properly and see how other people are organizing their stuff was uh, was the learning potential that I was looking for. So in my mind, I came up with a very vague workflow here, and it kind of starts off on research. I design in Figma, and then from my Figma design, I can have three outputs. I can go to Webflow, Framer, and also I could go to Next.js. And at first, I was quite excited how I could have one design in Figma and output into three different places. But then I kind of like lacked confidence on this. I was thinking it's so simple. It can't be that simple. I've got to be missing something. There's got to be bits that I'm sure there's going to be places that are going to be tripped up on this. So that's when I turned to AI and I start asking AI all these kind of questions. It's like um, and coming up to this point, I've built up a thread in my AI of templates, Webflow. So I'm kind of already halfway there. So and also, like I showed you before, I've got the other ideas of making agents, and I missed at this point. I kind of like missed working in Next.js, and I really wanted to get back to it. And I was thinking, is it really worth getting like what learning Webflow and Framer? I wasn't sure. I just lacked confidence. I didn't know if I'm just kind of tripping myself up here. So I asked ChatGPT, which is already talking, which I've already been talking to about all my other ideas in this particular area, and it kind of gave me the confidence. It was kind of like, yeah, do it. So it talked about cash flow and financial stability. Um, Learning Webflow and Framer will refine your UX and UI skills. The freelancing opportunities that you can offer, Webflow development and Next.js custom features make you stand out. Many Webflow clients eventually need advanced functionality, and you can charge premium rates for that. So and also that it can be used as a kind of tool for market research of my own SaaS products, um, which is kind of what I was thinking. But this, like, just kind of like talking about it with AI, just kind of gave me the confidence to kind of go ahead. And then it gave me a very unexpected um, idea in the final thoughts of that message. It said, "Would you like help picking specific high demand template ideas or ways to automate template creation with AI to scale faster?" And that kind of like took me back. I was like, hold on, automate template creation with AI. I'm going to make it in Figma and then remake it in Webflow. How uh, like automate this? What like what's going on? So I was like, how do you automate template creation with AI? And and um, yeah, it kind of gives me the strategy. This is just point one of it, but it came up with 5 points of how to do it. Use ChatGPT, generate HTML, use Tailwind CSS for the components, and because I've been using Next.js, which and all my Next.js projects, I install Tailwind CSS for the styling, so that kind of made sense to me. Using Framer AI, which I'm not sure is about anymore, but it kind of laid it all out to me, and then I kind of stopped a bit, and I was like, it's obviously recognized my other AI agents ideas, and it's given me a suggestion for a possible AI agent idea based on something that I want to learn. Um, so very interesting. I did take a note of this, but I parked it just to keep going with my original idea. But yeah, I was just quite. I think this is one of the things about AI. It can help you be more intelligent, and sometimes it can come up with things that you're already thinking. But a lot of the time, I find it comes up with extra things that you're not thinking about. It kind of like fills the gaps. So, so anyway, I get back to the task at hand, which is making a workflow for Webflow and Framer templates. And I basically ask AI to do this for me, and it does it. It gives me a 6 phase workflow for this. And phase one is the research and ideation. Phase two, concept and wireframing. Phase three, high fidelity design. Phase four, build. Phase five, testing and optimization. And phase six, push to market. Now, if you look at these phases, they're quite similar to the double diamond workflow, but they have a few extra bits. I also tweaked a few of them to kind of make it flow how I wanted to, but that's basically how it is. So it's kind of making me speed up from here. I've got my workflow and I jump straight in to following it. So I start on phase one, research and ideation, and I get going with market research. I get AI to help me choose a niche, and I choose two of the niches that most interest me, which is SaaS startups and AI tech startups. And I kind of research away and find some templates that I like. Um, then I start thinking about audience research, and I get AI again to help me define the audience, who's gonna be using this template, and what are their pain points. And then inspiration, still on phase one, inspiration, basically making a mood board from mainly from Dribble and Pinterest, just looking at stuff that interests me. But then we get to phase two, which is planning and wireframing. And I get AI to help me define a purpose. And at this point, making a value proposition seems like a good idea. It's something I typed out that I thought would be a good value proposition, and AI just kind of made it make more sense to me. So, and then when it comes to actually making the wireframe, my ChatGPT thread contains all the background theorizing that I've been having on this particular project. So, what I do, I use it to generate a prompt for Reloom. So, I don't know if any of you have used Reloom, but it's a great wireframing tool that uses AI to generate wireframes. And when you're in Reloom, you can change things about. You can export to Figma. You can even export to Webflow. But I was using it in my workflow to export to Figma. So I used ChatGPT to create an amazing prompt for Reloom. So I go into Reloom, I paste the prompt in, and within a few seconds, I've got wireframes. Um, I go through the sections, I just tidy bits up, look at the copy, make a few changes, and when I'm happy, I export that to Figma. So now I'm in Figma, and I've straight away got the wireframes, and I start working on the mid-fidelity designs, start blocking in some background color, start thinking of design system ideas, fonts, color palettes, in spacing, and then I uh, move on to phase three. I'm still in Figma, and I'm working on the high fidelity designs. So here I start working on a scalable design system. Hold on a sec. So I've got looking at colors, typography, spacing, buttons. I'm kind of like finalizing my design system, getting ready for the Webflow export basically here. I also find this a good time to define my components in Figma, as I think that will help me speed up the whole process in Webflow. And I'll also take this time to do a little bit of product development. I'm thinking to make my template look more realistic. If I have a actual product um, that kind of like looks a little bit real, and also I'm kind of like using this to kind of work on something that I wouldn't mind building in the future. So a little bit of that. And then we go on to phase four, which is build in Webflow. So the first thing I do is I get the Figma to Webflow plugin, which isn't as amazing as you think it would be, of just exporting everything to Webflow. It doesn't quite work out like that. The way the two programs are not really um, made for each other to be built that way. So the first thing I do with it is export the variables from Figma to Webflow, which works perfectly. The local variables that you make in Figma import perfectly into Webflow. And to be honest, that's a big step, because when you start working in Webflow and all your variables are already there, sometimes when you import other components, things just work because they're referencing the same named variables. So that was that that was a really good bit of it. Then I start looking at the structure, um, looking at the page, the section and containers, and this is where I kind of run into a big problem of the layer names in Figma. When you import them into Webflow, then create the styles for Webflow. So if those aren't lined up, it's just you may as well just build it in Webflow. So I spent a bit of time renaming my layers in Figma, trying to get it working. Um, and I got quite good results. And I was using the Webflow to Framer plugin, and I noticed a lot of people on YouTube just don't use that. They just look at Figma and then rebuild it in Webflow. And I tried to get this working, and I got it to an okay state. It's still something that I want to crack because I think it can be cracked. Sometimes it would work perfectly, but there were some things that I just couldn't work out. Then, as I'm importing section by section, I'm also checking the responsiveness of it. This is where the import variables from Figma to Webflow come in really handy, because if you spend a bit of time in Figma making responsive variables, when you're in Webflow, a lot of them just work. And in building Webflow, I start working on the interactions. So hover states, on-page load animations, scroll into view animations, and again, this was a big learning curve for me, but it was a good learning curve because I'm actually building something while I'm learning, and I think sometimes that's the best way. Um, then I made this. I started to look at the CMS aspect of Webflow, which is really interesting. It's kind of like a um, content management system where it has like a database, and you can store information or copy or anything you want in the database, and then from that database, you can then get it to make components or even pages, depending on how you make it and how you reference it in Webflow. So this kind of relates back to my AI agent idea of getting automatically making web pages with an agent. This is similar because you can create an extra line in the database, and it will create an extra web page or an extra component depending on how you wire things up. So um, then on to phase 5, test and optimize. Um, when this is all work in progress at the moment, so I haven't actually got to this bit, but I'm just kind of finishing off phase 4. But when I come on to phase 5, it's all going to be about testing cross browser with Safari, Chrome, Firefox, checking the page on Google Speed, and maybe even getting some human beings to test it as well, to see what kind of response I can get back. And of course, optimizing the images. Most of the images I used are SVGs, but there are some PNGs in there which I will try and optimize to WebP and AVIF as well to help the speed of the website. And phase 6, push to market, which is kind of like, if you think about the double diamond now, we're going way outside the scope of the double diamonds, and we're even like looking at a bit of marketing. I'm really looking forward to get to this stage because it's going to use some of my skills as in video editing and motion graphics to kind of come up with marketing mock-up images, previews, graphics to use for the marketing. With the descriptions, I can use my value proposition made earlier and kind of rework that, make it SEO friendly, promotion, social media, and possibly ads. I guess it depends how far you want to push this as a business or as a learning strategy. And then at the end, there's pricing strategies and submitting to the actual marketplaces. Um, okay, so on the final thoughts of this whole thing, I did learn a lot from this. I mean, this whole process was a learning kind of episode for me, and in a way, that's how I see AI. AI is it's learning for everyone. Like I told you before, when I was making Next.js projects and I was debugging stuff in 2 minutes, I was like, I really wish this had been made earlier. It really is a great technology to have at your fingertips. But also within the workflow, I did learn a lot about kind of just structures of web pages, like sections, containers, max width, reusable components, reusable styles, the power of design systems across platforms, also the CMS capabilities, um, which kind of goes on to my other agents ideas, and also gave me the confidence to kind of push through and actually do something and build something. So yeah, that's it for now. That's kind of where I've got to. And yeah, if you've got any questions, please feel free.